Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, one and all. This is an awesome time to be back with you. I know we've been off live for 2 weeks, but we hope everybody had an awesome Christmas and New Year and is taking on the year with great fervor and just getting ready just to move right along. I know there's still a lot of issues and questions about the COVID-19 infection and the vaccine. And so we're continuing our discussion this evening on that line. This is about our fourth part, and we're going to keep moving until we get all your questions answered. Feel free to like and to share. Also, under the comment section, please ask any questions you have, and we'll be more than happy to join in and to answer them. Of course, you know I'm Bishop Dr. Lang. We have our co-host, Pastor Franklin, and he's going to, Overseer Franklin, he's going to just introduce and then start with the question. We have a special guest today, Dr. Donna Richards, and you'll hear a little bit more. So Pastor Franklin, just take over and introduce, and then let's move on.
Dr. Lang, really appreciate you. Want to greet everyone Happy New Year. I hope you crossed over safely, and thank God that He has kept us. And here we are again. Our goal is to ensure that we remove any kind of myth and bring to you the facts and the truth about this COVID-19 and the vaccines that are readily available and those that are currently in production. So we have a great panel here today, and we'd like you to share this, like this, post this, and if there are any questions, send them in so we can have a very interactive and share this information with you. So please, so we're going to ask you to, there are quite a few questions, but before we take the questions, we're just going to pass it on to Dr. Richard. She will introduce herself and take us into the details of this vaccine. And, go ahead, Dr. Donna.
Hello, good evening. Yes, my name is Dr. Donna Richards. I am a pediatrician. I have been practicing for a good number of years, 20 years now. It's been a long time. It doesn't seem that long, but it's been 20 years practicing pediatrics. I just thank God for His grace, His mercy in keeping through it. We're talking about this COVID-19 vaccine. And yes, I have received my vaccine. I received my vaccine just about 3 weeks ago. I'm due to get my second booster dose next week, Thursday. I had the Pfizer vaccine, and I'm wearing my button here that says "for me, for you, and for all," because I think it's very important. There's something called herd immunity, and herd immunity just means that we need a certain amount of people to get vaccinated in order to create the barrier that needs to be created to bring the burden of disease down. So each person that's getting vaccinated, you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your family members, you're doing it for your neighbors, you're doing it for the rest of the world. You're doing it for those who may not be able to get vaccinated yet, so that they will get protection indirectly from us who are protecting ourselves. So vaccinating is going to be very important, that we can vaccinate as much people as possible so that the burden of the disease can definitely decrease.
All right. All right. So we see that it's going to be so important that everybody have an understanding, of the vaccine and understanding the disease so you can make a decision for yourself. One of the things I wanted to let people realize that nobody is forcing anybody right now to have the vaccine. For me, myself, personally, I'm recommending it based on the science, based on my belief in God, based on my trust in God that, He's one that given us the knowledge so we can attain all of this. and such alike. So I want people out there, and nobody is forcing anybody to get this, which we'll talk a little bit more because I know there's so many myths going on the airways, on the Facebook, and every social media, and everybody's contending of a lot of things. So we still want to one of the couple of things that kind of update on the virus. We are seeing new mutations. There's one new mutant in England that they've found. Actually, this week I heard that there's actually a U.S. mutation that may be also very infective, more aggressive. Not that the vaccine won't work, they don't know yet. But so you'll be able to understand, just kind of like if you think about back with the flu, we have so many variants of the flu, so many, mutations. And so that's, they have to constantly even change the flu vaccine to cover that. I think we may be heading somewhere in that direction when it comes to the COVID vaccine. So that's why it's important that everybody right now be protected in some way, shape, or form from what's currently out there, and the end helping your body to then also develop resistance and to be able to fight whatever else is going to come down the track. And so we still realize that, wearing a mask, social distancing is also very important. And maybe Elder Donna can talk that a little bit in light of, because some people think I got the vaccine, so I'm fine. But I just want you to talk a little bit about why it's still necessary to, wear the mask and to social distance.
Yes, I think it's still necessary because there are still a lot of people that need to get vaccinated. It also takes time for your body to build up the immunity against the virus. Also, we're still having understanding of research of how long this is going to be protective, how protective it's going to be. We still want to make sure that we are keeping that 6 foot apart, wearing our mask, because there are even other diseases that we can prevent. We're going to be going into flu season. We haven't seen a lot of it yet, but once we get into flu season, it does complicate things a lot because the symptoms are very similar. So therefore, if we can decrease the burden of people coming into the office, into the emergency rooms, we can decrease the spread of so many diseases just by washing our hands, wearing the mask, social distancing, and being careful, and protecting also those who have not been vaccinated yet. So you definitely still want to take those precautions.
Yeah, very, very, very important point. And I think that's one of the point down to know a lot of people, we hear the vaccine is here, so some people are getting like relaxed. But it's going to be very important that we keep doing this. As she said, first of all, remember now you have to get two shots of both of the vaccines that are available. The Pfizer one is 21 days for the second, and the other one is 28 days. You do develop some immunity, I guess, in a couple of weeks after the first shot. However, they don't know if that's adequate. So, of course, you need the second. So you see, you still have to be protective. Even the people who have gotten the shots still have to wear a mask, be protective of themselves until probably about a few weeks after their second shot. And even so, just to prevent a spread, we need to still continue all of that. So that's one thing that I want people not to just let your guard down. Overseer, you want to chime in any questions on that line?
Yeah, I want to chime in on that because it's also important that our members get tested regularly. For those who are still apprehensive in receiving the vaccine, I really think you should have a frequency in receiving the test. You should at least go twice a month, every 14 days. If you feel that you don't need to take the vaccine, you need to know, because we have folks who are asymptomatic, who can be a person who is spreading that virus. So it's very, very important for you to know your state. Am I contagious? Am I contagiant? Am I the one who's spreading this particular virus? So getting tested. Myself as a pastor, I do get tested every 14 days, and I do share my results with the congregation, letting them know that their pastor is safe. And I also try my best to do the big four. I call it big four. Wear the mask, wash my hands 20 seconds, say the Lord's Prayer, that's 23 seconds. And also social distance and minimize the crowd gathering. So yes, the vaccine, I'm not on the list yet, but as soon as I get on the list, I think I will opt to get it because I'm looking at what's happening in United Kingdom. I'm looking at what happened in Tokyo, and we see where the government there are shutting the system down because the spread is escalating. So we may seem as if we're out the woods, but we don't know what the future holds. And it's better than having no defense. That's my take. It's better than having no defense. The side effects, I'm going to ask Dr. Donna to speak to that. The side effects, are there any serious adverse side effects being reported that we have confirmed that we can share with our audience here this evening? Do we know of any? Dr. Donna?
Most of the side effects are the most common side effects that you would get, which is arm soreness. You may get a little low-grade fever. Some people might get a little bit fatigued. I know for me, I had the arm soreness. That's probably the most that I really had. But they say that most of your side effects will be after the second vaccine, after your body has now begun to have produced more antibodies and creating that immunity. And the side effects mainly come from your body creating the immunity. It's not so much that the vaccine is giving you the side effect, it's that your body is working with the vaccine, creating an immune response. That immune response can cause the fatigue, it can cause the body aches, it can cause a few of those things. So my arm was very sore. And then, like one of my other practitioners, the same thing happened. After a few hours, it was like, boom, it was gone. It escalated, it was gone, and pretty much it was just arm soreness. Pretty much all of the doctors in my practice did receive the vaccine, and it's about maybe 12 of us. A lot of people had no symptoms whatsoever and just arm soreness. We did have one of our physicians who had a little bit of facial swelling. Now, some people are concerned about allergic reactions with the coronavirus vaccine. So that's one thing that they're really still looking into. She did not have a severe reaction. It was a little bit of facial swelling. She took some Benadryl, rested a little bit, which is one thing that they recommend also, which we kind of did, that you want to stagger the vaccine if you're working in a hospital setting and a group setting, because if people are getting side effects that they need to stay home a day, you don't want your whole department out because of just having a mild reaction, fatigue, body aches, things like that. There have been some things that have been reported that they're looking into. The same thing, just like Bishop mentioned earlier, there are a lot of things that happen in the population in general. Bell's palsy happens. Thrombocytopenia, which is low platelets, that happens very generally in the population. I know there was you may have read out there, there's a doctor who died because of low platelets, and they couldn't get his platelets up. Was that due to the vaccine? That happens in the general population also. It's an autoimmune thing. So the Bell's palsy and then the low platelets, did that really cause the death? Was it by the vaccine? And those are things that they constantly look into to see, does the incidence of what's happening, is it occurring more than what occurs in the general population? So there has not been any uncommon severe side effects that are not normally happening in the regular population. And again, the most likely things you may get is arm soreness. And that just means that the vaccine is working, because your immune system has to work to build the protection and to build the immunity. So we can expect some side effects. And I think as the vaccine is out more with more people, we'll begin to see, more things happening, and things are just going to be common. But they will do the research to make sure that the incidence does not happen or is not more than what will happen in a normal population.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And I think one of the point I always make when talking is, if you don't get, if you get zero reaction, let's put it that way, then, you can't even be sure if the vaccine worked, because, your system has to listen. If your system is healthy and is robust and is doing, you're gonna get that. And actually, the more reaction you get, technically, your body's really working hard. So I think I'm not afraid so much of reactions, but at the same token, as Elder Donna says, you want to be careful that especially if you have severe allergic reaction. For example, my one daughter has a very severe peanut allergy. Whenever she's going to go get hers, it's either have to be in a place or I have to be there. So, but it's either have to be a place where you know that they can react to anything that is possible. She's going to have her EpiPen with her. She'll have some Benadryl with her, and such. That's a case because they have shown that a few people with severe allergic reactions have had a reaction. So I think, and it's all of this we're going to learn as time goes on. Why is there a specific reason? Is there something specific why people are allergic? So we'll find that out. So I think you have to take the necessary precautions. However, noting that you have to weigh the risk and the benefits of not getting the immunization. So I think that's kind of.
So I think
Go ahead.
add to that, I think to add to that, consult your physician, right? I know there are the clinics, there are the pharmacies where they do this quick shot in the arm. But if you consult your physician and giving your medical history, you may not be a best candidate to get the shot in the arm at the pharmacy. You may need to be in his office where any type of immediate reaction, the doctor can administer care. So
yeah, and I know of the bigger centers that they're setting up, they're going to have capabilities. So I know like the major centers they're setting up in New Jersey, they'll have the capability for rapid response for anything that. They're also right now they're also keeping everybody about 15 minutes. After if you have a severe reaction, you may want to be one that the doctor advises you maybe wait a little bit longer. So all of
Right.
that. So you're right. Speaking to your physician, so you can best be prepared of how to approach this and where to get it. But I want everybody to understand is while we're giving out here, and that's why we want you to send in your questions, anything. We want everybody to have a good understanding, have any of your questions answered, because what you're going to make is an educated decision about whether or not you take the shot. We're going to talk a little bit closer to the end of the program about some of the controversies and some of the things that are roaming around with one thing in specific. But anybody have any general question, feel free to ask them. Overseer, any other questions on your
Yeah.
list?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can answer it, but two doctors on the panel here. The length of immunity, with the flu, every year is a flu shot, right? Uh, I'm hearing that the Moderna has a longer immunity period as opposed to Pfizer. But being so new, Dr. Donna, anything on that? I know with the booster shot, 28 days, 21 days later, do we have an idea how long this immunity will last once we take the shot?
I think they're still on the research of that because it's so new to say
Yes.
exactly how long. The reason why we need the second shot is because in the studies, it was 95% effective after the second shot. And that was really about 14 days after the second shot. So that's why it's going to take a good about 45 days to get the maximum immunity. But then we'll have to see long term to see how long do those antibodies last. Now they're thinking that because of the type of virus that coronavirus is and this mRNA vaccine, it kind of resembles the measles vaccine. And we can see that the measles, we've been giving this same vaccine for many years without having to change it with immunity that does last a very long time. So they are kind of comparing it to the measles vaccine. So they're saying that there's a good chance we may have immunity, but it may not be forever, but it might be at least a year or two. They're saying at least enough time to get things under control that we need to get under control. So it's hard to say how long immunity would be, but they're projecting and hoping at least a year or two, a couple of years of immunity. But time will tell as this continues to go on if we're going to have how much of immunity we're going to really have.
Yes.
Yeah, as Dr. Go ahead. As
Yeah.
Dr. Let me just finish up on her. As Dr. Donna was saying, the studies are going on, so they're not clear yet. And even after you have had the COVID infection, they're not sure how long even that immunity is going to last. The other issue when it comes to that is kind of similar. It depends on also how many more variants we see, how many mutations, and then which ones are more prominent. So it's going to be involved. All of that has to be studied. I would say over the course of a year, they should be better to give you that answer. Maybe over the course of about a year. Mm-hmm. Quite over. We kind of lost you there, overseer. I think you got muted, overseer.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you mentioned in your introduction herd immunity. And there are so many people who are still debating whether or not to take it. Do you really see the country getting to herd immunity? And if not, I guess wearing the mask and still doing the big four will be a part of our everyday lives going forward. What's your comment?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that, like you're saying, wearing the mask and social distancing is still going to have to be enforced until we can get to that point of herd immunity. And herd immunity with the coronavirus is going to be very high. Now, with viruses before, like with polio virus, herd immunity needed 80% of the population to be vaccinated. Right now, with childhood immunizations, we are very close to 80-90% of vaccinating, mainly because you need to be vaccinated to go to school. So a lot of those diseases we don't see anymore. Polio, measles. Measles we began to see because people started to not vaccinate because of rumors and fears of autism. And what happened? Herd immunity went down because people were not vaccinated. When we start vaccinating again, we create a barrier, we create herd immunity. So if there are a lot of people that are skeptical and are not going to get the vaccine, if we only vaccinate 50% of the population, we could put a dent, but we really can't eradicate the coronavirus. So we are going to have to continue to wear masks and social distance because we're not going to be as effective as we could if more people can be vaccinated. So herd immunity is just something that means that if we have a certain percentage vaccinated, it decreases transmission, and that decreasing of transmission helps someone else not to get it, and it just decreases the burden of the disease. So I think we are going to have to wear masks for quite a while until we can really know that we're getting this under control.
Well, another way to get to herd immunity, what's the other way to get to herd immunity if we're not vaccinating? Dr. Donna knows the answer to that, is everybody gets the disease. However, if we go that route, we're going to talk about probably 100 million people are going to die. Right? So that's the other way. So those people who are opting not to get it, all right, but just keep in mind that, and this is one of the things that some of our other leaders were leading was opting that, well, just let everybody gets it. And they didn't care if 100 million people or so die. But for us to get to herd immunity, by getting the disease, we're going to see, so the same token, 80% of the people would have to get the disease. And then of that 80%, we see the percentage of who are dying now. How many deaths would that be? So, we have a choice. We can get the vaccine as one choice and get up to about 70 to 80% vaccinated, or of the people who are not vaccinated, at least 80% of those have to get the disease, and then at least 10, 20% of those are going to die. So that's another way to think about it.
Yeah.
So I think we need to understand that, and I think we got quite a few points. Let me just double check. I didn't see any questions online as yet. Everybody's just agreeing with us so far. But we're just reminding everybody, if you have any questions, if you have anything, any clarification you want, please ask them. Towards the second part of the program, we're going to get a little bit more religious and talk about. We want to talk about one pointer, and I know there's some people out there who are equating the vaccine to the mark of the beast. And for those people who are religious, we know the scriptures and we know all about that. So we're gonna probably at this moment let Pastor Franklin chime in and kind of educate us about the mark of the beast a little bit, and then to see if any way, shape, or form the vaccine is going to equate to the mark of the beast. So we're going to let you take it away, Pastor Overseer Franklin.
All right. Thank you. It's very sad. It's very sad that we can really be so reckless with the scriptures, and look at something as important as this vaccine or this disease and attach it to the 666, the mark of the beast. If we would study and look at the scriptures, and if you got your Bibles, I'd like you to come with me real quickly to Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, and I'm just going to read two scriptures there. Time won't afford me to do a deep dive, but I just want to bring us to some awareness of the main events that need to take place before the mark of the beast can be present. So according to Revelation chapter 13, and I'm reading from the King James Version, just reading the last three verses in that chapter. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man may buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666. As a matter of timeline, right, the book of Revelation speaks to the end, how this world will end, and it's the God's great prophecy. And the book of Revelation, and if we should take a little time here, the very first chapters 1, 2, 3 deals with the seven churches. And John Divine introduced these churches to us: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. And then after we get out of chapter 3, we go into chapter 4, 5. We see where the judgment seat of Christ, where the rapture of the church. Now, there are folks who believe in the pre-tribulation, that the church, post-tribulation, and mid-tribulation. Now, we got to dispel that, or we got to teach that. The church will not be present during the tribulation. The church will be raptured. The church will be caught away, which means then you and I, the believers of Christ, we are still present. So therefore, the mark of the beast cannot be distributed while the church is here. That will happen once the Lord takes the church out of this earth. So just from that alone will let you know then this vaccine injection, we do the COVID, we correlate the numbers, we add them up, it adds up to 666. It's just a matter of consequence. It's just a matter of happenstance. It is not the mark of the beast. So I could say a whole lot more. I could take it through some more, but I think that is sufficient. If there are any questions, chime them into the chat and we will take it from there. But the church will not be present during the mark of the beast.
Yeah, and I think people have to understand the scriptures. And I'm gonna just, while we think of some questions, I'm going to go over 4 pointers. And actually is relating to Revelation 13, just as you read. But there's 4 pointers I want to make here. deliberate identifying is necessary. So the mark in Revelation symbolizes deliberate identification with the beast. And as
Yes.
such, identify with Satan's kingdom and not getting vaccinated as imitated by what kind, and actually, just so you know, a lot of this came from Kanye West. A lot of this kind of stirred up with the mark of the beast
Ah,
after he supposedly he gets saved. So he's the knowledge base on this. But the number 2 point, intentional rejection is important. So taking on the mark of the beast is an intentional rejection of the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal Savior and Lord. And this, during that 7-year tribulation period, and we can again divvy that up later on. But these are what's
yes.
necessary. So you have to identify yourself with the beast. You have to intentionally reject Christ. And number 3, loyalty and devotion. Contrary to some of the more fear-mongering theories, right, that has been in the past gained stream, in especially some of the evangelical circles, the mark cannot be accidentally taken. It is closely tied to the worship of the beast in Revelation 13 and 12, as you mentioned, and also Revelation 19:20. And the mark represents loyalty and devotion to the beast. And number 4, vaccination is not worship. COVID-19 infection is not in our control. We do not choose whether we get it or not, but we can choose how much we expose others to it through our behavior. So choosing the vaccine is not choosing to identify and worship anything at all. So those are just 4 other pointers that I want to make. And the other point, yeah, and I've made it several times, is you got to know your sources of
Yes.
whatever you're doing. Even there's been a big thing going about Bill Gates. Bill Gates has been involved with vaccine research and all that for 20 years.
Mm.
20 years. He has actually funded a lot of the research over the years. So it's not like he's a Johnny come lately, and because he wants to put a chip in you, he's going to fund the research of the COVID-19 virus. This man you go read it up. Is right. He's been for 20 years supporting vaccine development, vaccine research, and this is one of his great push that he has done towards the human race. So I think people need to look at their sources. And actually, just so everybody knows, there's a good source called Snope. They actually look at everything, and then kind of fact check most of the stuff and give you a lot of research. So before you, jump on any wagon and jump, and start saying anything, especially as a child of God, we need to speak the truth. People should look
Yes.
to us and expect to hear the truth and expect to hear. So that's one of the things I wanted to just kind of bring up this evening. And so we can start. I'm sure if we get enough questions and enough interest, we can actually make it a whole program. But we'll see about that. Go ahead, Overseer.
Yeah, I think that was just drummed up to drive more fear
Mm-hmm.
in hearts, even for Christians. And I'm glad for this forum. Pastors like us are making sure that the Christian community understand the truth. And the 666, the mark, uh, the church will not be around. And we are not
Mm-hmm.
worshiping, we're not bowing down, we're not desecrating, we're not selling out our God. Someone mentioned the blind man, Jesus spat on the ground, made spittle, and placed on his eyes. So he fixed the lotion. He could have just said, open your eyes. So therefore, even in the transference of Christ himself, the apostles send out aprons, and the aprons healed. So there have been different similitude, different solution. The woman with the issue of blood, the Bible said she sought many, many, many physicians, and when her money ran out. So that means even in scripture, you're seeing where the Bible is recording where doctors were providing help until a miracle. There's healing and then there's miracle. Amen. So at this point, we have not got the miracle. We have not got a word from the Lord to say anoint or say these words and poof, it's gone. So at this time, we will be prudent and be wise and encourage our members and our family to take this vaccine and believe that God will sustain you.
Dr. Donna, you want to chime in on any of that?
Yeah.
Yes. Just to say too, just like the scripture says, like you said, it's going to be an identifiable thing. You're going to know that you're doing it. And it said that it's going to be, on your forehead. This vaccine comes out of a vial. It is not a chip. They're not, making an incision and inserting something in your hand or, on your arm. It comes out of a vial. It's just like any other vaccine, and it's not a mark of the beast. It's not something, it does not change your DNA. I've heard that out there too, that it's changing your DNA, like they're going to form you into something else. I mean, it's just so much fear. There's fear and there's anxiety out there. I see it every day in my practice with pediatrics, because what we do with pediatrics is we give vaccines. We have so many preventable diseases that we don't treat. And I commonly say it to a lot of my parents who really don't want to vaccinate or have fear of vaccines. I said, we have become the victim of our success, because there are so many diseases that we do not see right now because of vaccines. 20, 25 years ago, children were dying of Hib meningitis, which is Haemophilus influenza type B. Children were dying of strep pneumococcus infections. I mean, over 20,000 children were infected under the age of 5, and thousands of them were dying every single year. We don't see that anymore. It is so rare because we vaccinate. Even chickenpox, we don't see that anymore because we vaccinate. It's very rare to see chickenpox. There are so many diseases that we don't see, and people think that, yes, we're healthy, but it's because we have eradicated a lot of these vaccines. Polio, people were online to get that polio vaccine when it came out. There are so many things that we don't see in children, and we don't see anymore because of vaccines. So it's not as if this is something that we have not done before, things that we have not eradicated. I mean, the Bible says that we are fearfully, wonderfully made. This body is incredible. And what we're doing is we're using what God has already ordained in the body, these antibodies, these macrophages, the things that are happening that creates and works with this vaccine to prevent disease, is all that's been created in this body. We're not forming anything that's not already there, that's not already instituted in the body. God created the body to heal itself, and He also created it so that we can help it to heal and to fight diseases. So this definitely is not the mark of the beast. Like Overseer Williamson said, the church is not going to be here at that point in time. So at this point, we should just, rest assured and know that, this is not the mark of the beast. It's just trying to help against a pestilence that's happening in the earth.
Right. We have one question along that line. If the church will not be around in the tribulations, who are the ones that will reject the mark of the beast? So it's either.
All right, that's a very good question.
All right.
The church.
Since it's down, go ahead, Overseer.
No, yeah, I mean, remember now, according to the scriptures, for those who deny Him, right, for those who have not accepted Him, for those who have not been living a life that is upright, when that trump sounds, only to them that are looking, Thessalonians 4, will He appear unto a second time. So everyone else who have not been raptured, caught up in the first resurrection, they will be left behind. And now they will have the challenge of navigating this world to remain holy, or try to live a life that is a Christian life. And that's when now the Antichrist and the one world government ruler will now make it hard to buy, to sell. And you would have wished to yourself, I should have been raptured. I should have been in the first resurrection. But now the hardship comes. And because the hardship is present, the only way for you to do commerce is then to accept it. So because of the hardship, then you succumb to this. All right? And you will find yourself accepting the mark. And it's a matter of choice.
All right. I think out of some of the teaching and studying that we have done is,
Yeah.
there will be of the people who are left, if we consider the rapture, they will have a choice to give their life to the Lord. And I say some of those are going to now choose to serve God. And
Yeah.
those of that choose to serve God are going to have to give their life, because they're going to have to say, I'm not taking the mark. And therefore, to ensure them then being caught up, in the second resurrection. So I think people will still have a choice. And some people, either from what they had learned before or some that they're ministered to in some way, will then now choose to serve God. And then those people definitely would have to make a decision that I'm not going to take mark of the beast. So those would be those. One of anything you wanted to add to that, Dr. Donna? Or you're good?
I'm
All
good.
right. So good. The next question was, and Dr. Donna, you can answer this one. I will chime in. But what about those persons who have HIV positive and them taking the vaccine? Any problems with that? Someone HIV positive taking the vaccine?
I would say most likely it's not an issue. Again, you have to consult your doctor. I think on everything. Those who are HIV, it also depends on how well your immune system is working. I think that's part of it too. A lot of
Mm.
people, if at end stages, do you have enough T cells? You need T cells to mount an immune response also to create the antibodies with the virus. Um, there's people that talk about if I'm on immunosuppressants. One of our doctors, it has Crohn's disease, and she wanted to get that vaccine. She takes immunosuppressants, and you have to consult your doctor to make sure. But she's high risk, and she did take it. She had no side effects. We have people that have other diseases, and again, they still went and took the vaccine. But you should also consult your doctor to make sure. At this point, there's no major contraindication of disease. So it's mainly consulting your doctor to find out, is this something that I should do depending on the state you are with whatever illness you may have.
Yeah, as with most vaccines, actually, the issue, actually, believe it or not, is whether or not that person is going to mount the reaction and actually become immune. So it's actually more, is their immune system suppressed so that they're not going to mount a response. And actually, so that's why you definitely need to check with your doctor, because that person, you have to have more monitoring to see that they actually made the antibodies, because that's more the issue that you would face with that HIV or any kind of immunosuppressive disease. That's actually a problem you may run into, where you don't make the antibodies even though you get the immunization. So you need to talk with your doctor so that they can advise you at what follow-up that would be needed. Hmm. All right.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
One other, go ahead. One person just had a comment that we've been vaccinated from a child growing up from different outbreaks that occur, which is the reason why most of these diseases are eradicated, just as Pastor Dr. Richards was saying. So, and I just agree with that person. So you're right. If a lot of these immunizations didn't come along, or we wouldn't have half the population we have now, because
Yeah.
there would be deaths. And if you see, and the one thing I have even mentioned to people, I mean, I'm doing this now 20 plus years, and I've probably vaccinated, even personally or through my office, maybe almost 1 million people. And of all of those, I have 2 autistic children in my practice. So you can't say it's a cause and effect. None of these things. Yes, you may see things that pop up. Is it coincidence? Not sure. Even, I know Elder Donna have run into this. Even the flu season, you give 100 people the flu shot. About 50 of them may say, "Oh, I have the symptoms. On God, oh, it almost killed me because you gave me the flu vaccine." No, you didn't. You didn't give a live vaccine. So coincidences do happen in a lot of that stuff. So I just want to caution everybody: get the facts, understand yourself. If you want to consult with your doctor, consult with your doctor. If you want to consult with your pastor, consult with your pastor. If you want to consult with your nutritionist, whatever, but get all the facts, and then you make an educated decision, and then you have to make the call Thank God, the vaccine is not. One part of the person said they're taking away our rights. Certain countries says if you don't have the vaccine, you can't travel. I said, well, just don't travel to that country. They didn't take away your right. That's the country's right to make whatever rules that they want to make. So, but that doesn't take away my religious right. It doesn't, nobody tells me that I can't worship. No, 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 no government has said that, right? Does any of these government tell you you can't worship, you can't praise? Yeah, you may not be able to gather, but listen, if you have to gather to worship, you're in sorry state and you need to go to Calvary. So I think we need to be realistic about all of this. And as Christians, we should be the solid heads. And this is what is depressing me a little bit because there's so many people in these influential roles, because they maybe have their big titles and stuff, so they're in influential roles. And instead of they look out for, and trust me, some of those same ones who are telling people not to do this, watch me, they're gone behind you getting their shot. They're getting the shot and just not telling you. Trust me about that, because I never forget. There's this one pastor way back in my history. She was having everybody going to Africa. She was telling everybody, don't get your malaria prophylaxis. Da 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 da. She's the only one who came back without malaria because she took her prophylaxis, while the other people, she encouraged them not to do it. So they all got sick. So I'm telling you, you learn for yourself. I don't care. Listen, thank God for Calvary. Because of Calvary, the veil has been rent in twain. Yes, you have your pastor as a guide, but you can go to God for yourself. You can consult God for yourself as well and get the direction that you need. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox. Let me come down. And overseer, go ahead. And
yeah. Here's a question. Uh, are there any way or ways in which you can increase your immunity and not have to take the vaccine? Any natural ways?
Elder Donna, go ahead if you have any thoughts on that.
There are natural ways to help your body's immune system just function in general, like taking vitamin C, taking zinc, and taking vitamin D, vitamin B, and just being healthy. You're not going to create antibodies against this virus by doing those things, but you're just going to help your immune system so that if you do get it, that your body can help to fight it off. So there's no way that you can do anything to say that I'm immune against coronavirus because I'm taking certain things. Those things might help your body to help fight the virus if you get infected, but it's not going to totally act as a vaccination to say I don't have to be vaccinated because you cannot create those antibodies in and of itself with just regular health, mechanisms. But it's good to be healthy. Bishop talks about it all the time that you want to eat right. You want to make sure that you're exercising, that you're keeping your body strong, so that your body can fight the infection. The infection is, it's really killing those who may be overweight, those who may have diabetes, high blood pressure, those who have other conditions that will cause their body not to fight the infection as others. I've seen the infection down to a 2-week-old. That is the youngest that we've had so far with the infection. There are some babies that are actually being born with it also. And a lot of the children are faring well. This virus has many different faces, I like to call it. I even like to call it the schizophrenic virus because it affects some people and then others it will kill and others it will not. And we have just seen such a array of different things with this virus. And it's amazing. 2-week-olds, 1-month-olds, right, a 4-month-old, they have no symptoms whatsoever and it doesn't do anything to them, but yet an older person in the house is in the ICU. So it's just so different the way this virus is that we can't predict it. There are things that we can help to fight against it, but there's no way that we can definitely say because of this, I don't have to be vaccinated because I'm, taking my vitamins or I'm a healthy individual.
Well, I think, so that's a good question. And I like that question because it brings it all together, but your body, mind, and spirit. Because I think the best ways to prevent in general, and to help your body to be able to fight is to, as you said, eat right, exercise. Your spiritual life needs to be right too. You need to be really have your relationship with God strong, because what is that going to do? That's going to decrease your stress level. It's going to make you more relaxed, and you're not, every little thing is not going to get you all upset, because I think stress has a lot to do with your immune system as well, and overall. So I think spirituality and being good with God, and with Him, so you have that relationship, you can talk to Him, is going to help your overall, even your immune system is going to be helped by how strong your faith and your belief in God is. And that's one of the things that, that's probably the book we should write, Overseer. So we need to really get people in tune, because if you're doing this, so if the body is good, right? You're exercising, you're eating right, the mind, you're settled spiritually, you're connected, then your overall being is going to be better. And you're going to be better able to, mount a response. Not that that will negate you getting the virus, but then if you get it, you should be able to better fight. So, and then it depends on, all of that has to come in line. And that's why those people who say, it said because we're going to get the vaccine, we don't believe in God. I think we believe in God much more than they do, because, we realize that the Lord has placed that here. We're going to do what we can, but that doesn't say we're going to not pray. That doesn't say we're going to not fast. That doesn't say we're not going to build up a relationship with God, because to me, that's the most important part. And that's going to keep us, more and more in line. Anyway, I had one other question, and since we can help this one, somebody have heard so many different description of what the tests for the virus is like, and that's make them quite fearful. So they want us to explain and describe what is the tests. And so Elder Donna, I know you have probably done quite a few of these. I have. Just say a little bit about the test, the various tests, and how we can help somebody to not be afraid.
Yes. I will say that they have definitely improved from what it was originally. Because in the beginning, they were doing a test which went way past your nasal passages and you felt like it was going to your brain, but we do not have to do that anymore. The nasal swab is like a mid-nasal swab. It's the same swab that we do when we do like for the regular flu. So it's just inside the nose where we don't have to go far, we don't have to go back. So it's not something that's going to hurt where you're going to be in pain so much afterwards. So that's why we're able to swab all of our children. Like I said, we've swabbed 1 month olds, 3 months old. It's just a nasal swab getting some secretion. So you don't have to be afraid of getting tested. You don't have to be afraid that it's going to hurt so much that you're going to be in so much pain. It's just really a mid nasal swab that we do, and that's the easiest way for it to be said.
Yeah, and they're working on other ways. And I actually still do the postpharyngeal, but of course they have now also done the much smaller swabs for the pharyngeal ones, much smaller. And actually, I found a trick that makes this so easy. The person must breathe out in and out through their mouth while you do the test. It's amazing. I mean, I'm done doing this test. This guy asked me if I was done, because that breathing relaxes the whole muscles. So I stand to the side, tell him just breathe. I said, open your mouth and just breathe, like you're taking deep breaths. And it's amazing. It's like 100% different. And everybody said, well, how come everybody told me this hurts so much? I'm like, well, they're not as smart as I am, because I have God, of course. But no, I said, of course, it's amazing the things that you learn and you pick up. And even so, and she said, there's even that one test now, and maybe not as accurate, where they use sputum as well. So you just have to put some sputum, spit in a cup. So there's different things that they're doing. So nobody should really be afraid. The test here, it's come a long way, as Donna said. And, so you should, be open to getting it done. Overseer, you were going to say something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just my experience, as a pastor, I have taken it on myself to take members to actually get the test, because especially those who are our frontline workers at church, our nurses. We got a team called the Heat Team, and they are there every Sunday to make sure you sanitize your mask. So I'm like, okay, let's go get the test. And as you said, Dr. Debbie, yes, earlier on, the swab was very, very hurtful, got all the way back up. but now it's a mid swab, just in the mid part of the nostrils. And I go twice a month. And to be honest, it's one of the easiest tests that I have ever taken. So I want to encourage everyone, go get tested, especially for you and for your family. It's a quite easy test. Don't do the rapid, because the rapid have so many false negative. Do the regular 3-day response. That's okay. And I guarantee you, you will feel better in yourself to know that you are negative. So that's my encouragement. Please get tested. Pastors,
Elder Donna, just one more question for Elder Donna. Are children encouraged to take the vaccine as well? I want Elder Donna just to answer that for us.
At this point, we haven't had the approval yet. They're still trying to do studies. The Pfizer and Moderna study, they were 16 and 18 years of age and up. I've heard that they're going to do some studies now starting at age 12. So at this point, we have not had the approval for giving it to children, but I'm sure that will come down the line as more of the research is being done. And eventually, I believe we will start giving it to children. Right now, we're just focusing on those who are very high risk. Thank God a lot of our children have not been dying from it. So we're starting with the healthcare workers and the elderly, those on the front line. And I think eventually it will come down to the children, but they have to just do more research for that.
All right. And Overseer, just before we run, there was one more follow-up question to the rapture issue. So somebody asked, so will there be a second caught up or resurrection?
All right. Before I answer that one, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
Piggyback on Dr. Debbie. Since the test is not for those who are under 16.
It's not the test, the vaccine. It's not the test, the vaccine.
Vaccine. So what about the test? Should the children under 16 take the COVID test?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, they should take the test because you really need to know exactly what's going on. A lot of our kids we're testing just because they need to go back to school or they're doing sports. There's so much clearance for procedures. If you're getting a dental procedure, you're getting an endoscopy. We have so many people that need to be cleared for procedures, need to be cleared for travel. So we are doing testing in children all the time. So definitely they should be tested for so many different reasons or purposes. And like I said, it's a mid-nasal swab. So it's very, it's not hard to do to test the children, but yes, everyone should be tested.
Let's go further. So if your child is tested and your child is positive, what's the course of action?
The course of action is just like we counsel with any other virus. Here it's much different because you have to quarantine. So we explain the whole process of quarantining and what quarantining really means, because a lot of people don't want to stay in their homes and things like that. And a lot of it is supportive care. If they have fever, you give them Tylenol. You make sure they're drinking, they're eating. It's all supportive care. And a lot of our children, they bounce back very quickly. A lot of these children we would have never tested because they may have fever for one day, a little runny nose, things that we see all the time with any typical cold and would not think it was the coronavirus. So therefore, our children, thank God, are faring well. There have been a few things that have been complications that we've seen later on, weeks after, as far as with vascular issues and things like that. But it hasn't happened very commonly. So thank God our children are faring well, but we are definitely testing them. Because what happens is that you need to know, because there are parents in the household, there are grandparents in the household, there are other people that they can now pass it to that would have much more adverse effect than the child. So you need to be tested so that you can know that I do need to quarantine and I do need to protect other people who are more susceptible. So that's where testing really comes into hand so that we can control this thing and that you can quarantine if you were asymptomatic and had low symptoms so that you're still not out in the community spreading the virus.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Thank
So,
you.
so it's really more so that we can know and then we can control, which is very, very important. And I think, okay, let's see, before you answer the other question,
Right.
overseer, because I'm coming back to that, somebody did ask, how accurate are the antibody tests to determine if you ever had the COVID-19? Elder Donna?
Okay. Yes, very good question. We talk about that all day long also because we just do telemed consults just for antibody testing. So many people want to know, do I have antibodies? So we counsel them and say that the antibody testing, there are other coronaviruses. We see coronavirus in other aspects. So therefore, when you get the antibody testing, we are not going to say that the antibodies are complete, just coronavirus COVID-19 antibodies. So if your test is positive, it means that you could have had the COVID-19 in the past. You have to wait for at least 3 to 4 weeks after infection to really detect antibodies. So you don't want to go out right away and say, oh, I want to get antibody testing done. If it does come up positive, that means that your body has seen this virus, and most likely these are COVID-19 antibodies, but can they be from another strain of coronavirus? So we still say if you have antibodies, do not feel that you are invincible and that I am never going to get this and I'm going to be fine. If your antibodies are positive, we still counsel them, wear your mask, social distance. A lot of parents want it because they want to feel better about sending their child to school. But I said, still, it's a false sense of security because we don't know yet how long the antibodies are going to last. We don't know how protective the antibodies are. So it's more of an FYI thing, but you don't want to feel invincible. You don't want to think that I'm not going to get this and I don't have to wear my mask. I don't have to social distance. We're still trying to find out about this virus. I think we won't know for another year or so. For those who had antibodies, how did they fare through this next season of the pandemic? So I think history will let us know. But, a lot of people want to know, but you don't want to just count on antibodies 100%. People who do have antibodies are still getting the vaccine. So having antibodies doesn't mean you should not get the vaccine. Having the coronavirus also doesn't mean that you shouldn't get the vaccine. A lot of our nurses and doctors have had the, coronavirus and they have still gotten their vaccine. So you still want to get the vaccine if you do have antibodies.
Yeah, that's an important point, and I'm glad for that question. And the other thing is when I do the antibodies, especially if the person is recent, I do both the IgM and the IgG. A lot of I think the insurance companies are probably upset with me because it's costing them more money. But hey, because if you have, and I've seen quite a few people, and those people I can say when I repeat them later on that yes, they had it because they'll have IgM, not IgG as yet. And then in a few weeks, you'll see the IgG, which kind of said, yes, you had the virus, and I'm more likely. But however, good point is there's so many unknowns. Even if you have antibodies, where did they come from? How long they're going to last? So, and I've had quite a few people who have antibodies, but they're still testing positive from the nasal swab
Exactly.
for weeks or months.
Yes.
I don't know, is that person still able to spread? I don't know. There's so many unknowns. So you really still have to be so cautious and careful and watch everything. All right. Overseer, if you'll answer that other question, do you remember the question, sir?
I think so. It's the rapture.
Okay.
Are there two raptures? Is that the question?
Yes, they're not. Yes, basically, yeah.
All right. Well, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, the Bible speaks of only one. It's one chance. It's one chance. And I'll read it. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and I'll come to you from verse 13. But I would not have you be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus Christ died and rose again, even so then also which sleep in Christ will God bring with him. So the dead is going to take with him. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. For the Lord himself is not sending Michael, he's not sending Gabriel. The Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, the voice of the archangel, and the trump of God shall sound, and the dead in Christ shall rise first. Those and them which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So we shall ever be with the Lord. So there is only one rapture. There will be a gathering of all humans right before the Lord, but the saints will be caught up, those who are dead and remain with Christ before his coming, they will be caught up also, and they will meet together in the air, and then we'll go up for the marriage supper. After the wedding, there's always a beautiful supper, and then there goes the millennium, that period where now the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, will be let loose while the church is enjoying their marriage supper. God bless you. God bless you.
Now, so no, their question isn't final though. So then, what happened to those people who didn't take the mark of the beast? What's going to happen to that group? So they were left, but they didn't take the mark of the beast, and so are they going to then be caught up to reach with the rest of us, or what's going to happen?
Well, there's no second rapture, so there won't be another caught
Okay.
up. Right? They
Mm-hmm.
will die, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the judgment, the Lord will then bring the angels will come back now to judge.
That's what I just needed to clarify that. So their reckoning is going to be when that final, reckoning is, and then if they remain faithful, right, and they didn't take the mark of the beast, then they can expect to enter. Which I just to clarify that. All right. So, well, this has been an awesome day, and I think we'll most likely will be on the same topic next week, or we'll decide depending on what, because there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of still uncertainty, and it depends on how many false theory I hear this week. Depends on what we'll have to do, because we have to keep educating and we have to keep enlightening so people can get the truth. And, I really, as I said, I am praying, we're fasting and praying this week, and that was one of our main topics, but I was really seriously praying for the church, that the church will wake up and be enlightened and take their rightful place of the ones who, are authority on all of these subjects, and speak out and stand up for what is right, and not jump on the bandwagon of any conspiracy theories that are out there. And that's one of my prayer and one of my desire. Dr. Donna, any last words for today?
Yes, just to say that, we all know that God is in control. So it really doesn't matter, vaccine or no vaccine, coronavirus or no coronavirus. Whatever God has in plan is going to happen. So I don't think that we have to think that man is going to combat this and we're going to take this over. And, the church is not the church. God is still God, and the church is the church. And whatever is going to happen is going to happen. So God is allowing these things to happen. And we know that the coming of the Lord is coming soon. So all we need to do is make sure our souls are right. Just get right with God, because God is in control. So we're just trusting in the Lord.
And I think instead of focusing so much on this, that I think one of the things that I really want the church, which is us, to do, is to focus on Christ. I think we've gotten so, we're in this world, but we're not of the world. And we need to realize that. Yes, we live here and we got to function. But listen, once you get everything right with Christ, and everybody know my favorite scripture, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. Once we do that, and I can't say it enough. Sometimes I want to jump and stand on my head and say it. I want to, do something crazy and say it so people can understand that once we do that, once that is right, the Lord is going to lead us and guide us through everything else. So, instead of spending all this energy, and that's the other thing, I don't want to spend all this energy just trying to, defend or debug these things, but I want to spend the energy sharing Christ with the world because, the world needs to know. And listen, and if I want Christ to come back, we have to keep spreading, right? Everybody got to hear it. So anyway, I am really kind of wound up, as you can tell, because this is so important to me. And I thank God for everybody sharing with us today and joining. We thank God for Dr. Donna taking time out of her day. I'm sure we'll have her back. And we will just keep on keeping on, right? Keep on, spreading the word. And I was just double checking if there's any other questions, but I think we have dealt with everything. So we want to thank you all. Thank Overseer for being with me and, hanging with me here. And we know that God is able. And we, for Premier, our theme this year is hope in the Lord. And, we've been teaching, preaching hope. And I don't have my yellow shirt on today, but we were in yellow as much as we yellow or something for hope. And we want to share that with everybody. Yes, there is hope. As long as Jesus is alive, yes, there is hope. And, we don't have to worry. We don't have to fret, but we can just let the Lord have his way. So God bless you all today. Have an awesome rest of the weekend. Have an awesome time in church. Those who worship on Sunday, those who worship on Saturday, I hope you had a great time today. And just let the Lord be praised. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. We love you all.
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.